Hello, this is Michael Tracy, and this video is going to be the first of two videos to look at what a Chinese climber saw in 1975 to determine if, perhaps, he saw the body of Andrew Irvin. There's a lot of confusion about a sighting of a body in 1975 by a Chinese climber named Wang Hobao. Unfortunately, Wang Hobao died in an avalanche climbing to the North Pole in 1979, and only 3 accounts of what he said remain. The first 2 accounts were told to his tent mates at different times, and the third is the official account from the Chinese Mountaineering Association put out years after his death, which appears in the Himalayan database. This video will focus on the story Wang told to Zhang Yunyan, his tent mate in 1975, at the 8,200-meter camp. And a future video will discuss the story he told to a Japanese climber named Hasegawa in 1979, the day before Wang was killed in an avalanche. And then, in the video pinpointing Mallory's location, I'll tie it all together to show that Wang saw Mallory in 1975 and no other English dead on the upper mountain. There's also been an alleged sighting in 1960 by Zhu Jing, but I will get into the details of that after I go through the history of the early Chinese expeditions in the series of videos about the 1960 alleged summit. As for the 1975 sighting, the internet will tell you Wang found a body on a walk out of his tent from the 8,200-meter Chinese camp that lasted just 20 minutes. At issue is whether Wang could have possibly made it to the body of George Mallory and back to his tent in just 20 minutes, with the argument being that because this is extremely unlikely, Wang must have seen a different body and not Mallory's, the obvious implication being that it was Irvin. However, as with the camera, the ice axe, and the ridge route, many so-called facts that have been repeated over and over are highly questionable. The story that Wang went on a 20-minute walk comes from a fellow Chinese climber from the 1975 expedition, Zhang Yunyan, who shared the tent with him that day in 1975. There is an account in the book People in High Places, which is the only interview with Zhang. In it, he states Wang went out for 20 minutes and that later, on the way back down, he mentioned he had seen a body. So that is the end of the mystery, right? Unfortunately, no. The problem is that Zhang did not say this until 1986, when he was interviewed by Tom Holzell. Nor was there anything particularly memorable about that day in question that would give any reason to believe that Zhang could accurately remember it 11 years later. That is, you might remember exactly where you were on September 11th, 2001, but likely not on August 11th, 2001. As there was nothing special about that day, nor anything unusual about someone leaving a tent, there is simply no reason to believe that Zhang would remember the events from a day 11 years previously with any degree of accuracy. Zhang stated he stayed in his sleeping bag, and it is very unlikely he made any effort to time Wang's excursion. At altitude, people do not notice how rapidly time seems to pass, and that things that only take a minute or two to perform at sea level can take 10 minutes or even longer to do at altitude. So it is not that Zhang could have been off by a minute or two. It is entirely possible he was off by up to an hour, and likely had no accurate memory of a routine event that had happened 11 years previously while he was at 8,200 meters. Nor did Tom Holzell follow up to ask how he arrived at the 20-minute number, nor ask any other questions about whether Wang had described the condition of the body or anything else about it, such as whether it was face up or face down. According to People in High Places, Holzell was so happy to have confirmed the body sighting that the only other question he asked was whether Zhang drank champagne. The 1999 team used this Chinese sighting as the primary means of finding Mallory. That is, they first located the Chinese 8,200-meter camp, and then spread out from there to look at the fall line down from the ice axe location that was close to the 8,200-meter camp. This is documented in the research manual that the expedition published, and it is available on the NOVA website. And for those that say the body was not on the fall line or that they did not search the fall line, that is contradicted by the transcript of the radio traffic that day. Anchor, I'm down the fall line. Do you guys see where I am? Look where I'm pointing. Hemlib, it's very hard to see them. Anchor, I'm going to investigate this direct fall line. Over. Richards, Conrad and everyone, I'm at the fall line here as well. I've come across 2 other people. Looks like they definitely have fallen. I don't know. The fall line in relation to that ice axe is the key. Over. And if there was any confusion that they were under the ice axe when they found the body, Andy Politz clears it up in the transcript provided by Nova. Politz: "We expected this to be Andrew, fallen 10 stories below the ice axe, Andrew Irvin's ice axe." Now, in the video 2.5 Ice Axes, I discuss why it might not be Irvin's ice axe, and it is equally likely to have been Mallory's, with the belief that it is Irvin's being caused by an over-reliance on questionable evidence while ignoring all evidence to the contrary. I will cover more about the location of the 1975 camp and Mallory's body in the video pinpointing Mallory's body, but for now, it would be difficult to believe Wang was able to get from his tent to Mallory's body and return in just 20 minutes. But does this mean that Wang actually saw Irvin and didn't see Mallory? No. It likely means the 20 minutes is not accurate. The 1999 team walked along the route between Mallory and the 8,200-meter high camp. In one of the 1999 videos, someone is seen leaving the body and walking back towards the Chinese 8,200-meter camp. There was extremely low snow, and if Irvin was there, he would have been seen. Unfortunately, that does not end the mystery of why Wang went from the 8,200-meter camp all the way over to Mallory's body with no apparent reason to do so. One possible explanation came from the 2001 expedition when they found a piece of Mallory's sweater stuck to rocks between his body and the 8,200-meter camp. The camp is along the ill-defined rib mentioned in this entry. As a note, there is no reason to believe that the sweater fragment blew away from the grave as it states in Detectives on Everest. On May 1st, Mallory was respectfully buried and completely covered with rocks. There is no way a piece of sweater somehow wiggled its way out from under those rocks. When Mallory was dug up on May 16th, his pants and underwear were taken, which I discuss in They Took His Pants video. It is difficult to believe that they would take his underwear, but leave a piece of his sweater to blow away in the wind. However, this does remain a possibility, as it was reported that on May 16th, the body was not fully buried, with Mark Sinnott writing, quote, "It wasn't a proper burial, as there simply weren't enough stones in the vicinity to fully bury the body." Unfortunately, no photo of the piece of sweater has been released, so it is impossible to say what condition it was in and whether it was likely there in 1975 when Wang was passing by. If it was, it would give him a reason to look a little further out. Ultimately, the only thing we know is that Wang left his tent at the 8,200-meter camp and later described finding a body. One account is that his walk lasted 20 minutes, but we do not know how that estimate was arrived at, nor whether Wang said anything else about the body to Zhang, such as whether it was face up or face down. The only thing we know is that Zhang was asked in 1986 whether he drank champagne, and we don't even know the answer to that question. In the next video on Wang's sighting, I will also dispel the popular myth that he stated the body was on its side or that he saw a hole in the cheek, neither of which he ever said. But you should not take my word for it. The entire account can be read on the Internet Archive's copy of People in High Places, and you can see for yourself how silly all the speculation over the years has been.